Hi guys, and I'm Retro Critic here. And today, we're going to talk about more of my thoughts on the Star Wars Expanded Universe. And today, we're going to talk about my thoughts more on the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and why the Expanded Universe is so good. And today, we're going to talk about my thoughts more on the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and why the Expanded Universe is so good. And why the Expanded Universe is so good. So good. Why the Expanded Universe is so good. And why the Expanded Universe is so good. So today, I'm going to talk about why was the Star Wars Expanded Universe so awesome. So today, I'm going to talk about why was the Star Wars Expanded Universe so awesome. So today, I'm going to talk about why was the Star Wars Expanded Universe so awesome. So today, I'm going to talk about why is the Star Wars Expanded Universe. So today, I'm going to talk about why was the Star Wars Expanded Universe is awesome, and why I personally love the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and more of my thoughts on Star Wars in general as a whole. Now, what I loved about the Star Wars Expanded Universe is that it expands on the story, and it's basically like its own continuity timeline. You see, well, I'm referring to the old continuity. The old continuity is now referred to as Legends, but at the time before Disney and George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, it was actually canon at the time. But now, the old canon, which is now called Legends, is not canon anymore. It's just called Legends. I mean, they now have these, like, Legends banner. And by the way, this is my favorite Star Wars novel, Darth Bane, Path of Destruction, which I highly recommend and I love. But no, like, they have, like, these, like, Legends banner. I'm not a big fan of the Legends banner, but I got used to it. And honestly, and this is my favorite, Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire is a story about, like, Luke Skywalker at his darkest hour yet. Like, he's in his darkest moment in his life. And it's where, like, this novel takes place, like, after The Empire Strikes Back. So, Shadows of the Empire takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Shadows of the Empire takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. But what's interesting is that it's about, like, Luke Skywalker, becoming a Jedi Master and, like, getting his green lightsaber. And it's about Prince Zizor, this guy right here. Wants to steal Princess Leia, wants to kidnap Princess Leia to become her queen. That's how much of an evil freak he is. But he actually wants to become, like, the Emperor's heir. Like, he wants to be the successor of the Emperor. If he, like, does this deal, if he, like, does this. And that's kind of what happens. But it's also about, like, Dash Rendar, helping Luke Skywalker to save Leia and stop the evil Prince Zizor and the Empire. And this is actually the first time Dash Rendar is introduced in this novel. And, people say Dash Rendar is more of a Han Solo ripoff, but, I mean, he's like a straw man version of Han Solo, a poor man's version of Han Solo, which I disagree, because he himself is an original character, but he's actually pretty cool, and he's actually fun and entertaining to kind of read about and watch. They even made a video game of this, an N64 video game of this, called Shadows of the Empire on the N64, and on the PC, there's a PC port of this novel, a PC port of this game of the N64 version. But no, I recommend this. This is a great story. This, like, connects both stories combined. This is a great expansion of, like, Luke Skywalker and Dash Rendar, and what the Battle of the Republic was like, what the Battle of the Galaxy was like between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And this is a story of just, and what happens here in this story is that Luke Skywalker also gets the plans for the Death Star 2 in Shadows of the Empire. So this is a great story of what happened between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. This is a fascinating story. It expands upon the story. It kind of, like, fills in the gap, you can kind of say, and it's fascinating, and I really love this novel. It's my favorite, I love it. But that aside, see, this is what I love about the Star Wars Expanded Universe, is that it expands on the story, but more than that, it fills in the gaps, and it like, continues the story. Like, starting with, like, Truce of Baska and the Thrawn trilogy, and the new, and Vector Prime, and Shadows of the Empire, and the Old Republic. I love it all. I have a nostalgia for it all. And yes, I was into some of this stuff, and before, like, Disney bought Star Wars, technically, George Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney, because I guess George Lucas had enough, and honestly, I guess George Lucas just had enough of Star Wars fans treating him like shit, but that's another story for another day. But honestly, And honestly, like, but still, like, here's the thing about the new canon. I don't like the new canon very much. I respect it. It's okay that they like the new canon. Like, I'm still open to the new canon, and I think this new canon, like, is trying to develop itself more. It's trying to, like, develop its own universe and galaxy. But, you know, here's the thing. Here's why many Star Wars fans and myself love the old continuity, the old Star Wars EU, and that's just because, like, it was just a very well-established universe. Like, basically Disney erased a very well-established universe, and that was my problem with that. And that's just what bothers me about that. Like Disney basically eliminated a very well-established universe. They basically erased a well-established universe, so that's my problem with that. And, it pisses me off, like, because, like, I mean, you have, like, the Darth Bane, they erased, like, think about this, the Darth Bane trilogy, the Thrawn trilogy, the Black Fleet trilogy, which is okay, the Dark Nest trilogy, which that was also pretty decent, Vector Prime, the new Jedi Order, series era, the new Star Wars Legacy of the Force, all those great stories, all those great, like, episodes, all those great, like, epic stories didn't exist anymore. They're not canon they're not officially considered to be canon anymore, because George Lucas sold Disney to Star Wars, which I still think gets a lot of shit for that, but because, you know, Disney, based on poor decision making, eliminated the EU because they thought it was not worth it. That's what bothers me. When Disney bought Star Wars, I think everything was ruined. Here's the thing, like, when George Lucas sold Disney to Star Wars, I think it just went downhill after there. And why do you say, and I think he gets a lot of shit for that. And why did George Lucas sell Disney to Star Wars? I think he gets a lot of shit from fans. I think a lot of, like, not all Star Wars fans, but more specifically the toxic Star Wars fan, not all Star Wars fans, but more specifically the more toxic Star Wars fans was treating him like shit. Like, a lot of these Star Wars fans were just treating George Lucas like shit, and I think he had enough. And I think it was the middle finger of these guys, and I think that's why he sold Disney to Star Wars, in my opinion. But no, I think when Disney bought Star Wars, I think that it went down. I think Star Wars was, I wouldn't say ruined. I just think it just declined. I think Star Wars' popularity in what it's known to be just declined after that. And that's my problem with that. And I don't know, man. I just don't know. I just didn't like it. And honestly, like, my problem with Disney is that they eliminated a well-established universe. The problem with Disney is that they, you know, erased a very well-established universe. The reason why Star Wars fans, and Star Wars fans like myself, loved the original EU was that, like, it had so many characters, original characters, and so much stories to expand on that it was a very well-established universe. And like I said before, it was a very well-established universe, and Disney erased a well-established universe. And the problem is Disney erased the Star Wars EU. Disney erased a very well-established universe. They erased the EU. They basically erased all these great characters we grew up with, all these awesome stories we like to read and watch. They erased it all. It's not officially canon anymore. All those stories never happened. All those epic stories don't exist anymore. Thrawn, Darth Bane don't exist. And that's what bothers me. That's what pisses me off. Like, I mean, think about this. The Dark Nest trilogy, which was okay. The Black Fleet trilogy, which was also okay. Which was decent. The Darth Bane trilogy. This doesn't exist anymore. This is not canon. And that's what bothers me. And Shadows of the Empire, the Thrawn trilogy, the Darth Bane trilogy, I, Jedi, I'll go on and on. All these novels, all these like video games, TV all these comics, you know, Vector Prime, the new Jedi Order era, Vector Prime novel, Vector Prime series, Prime, Star Wars Legacy of the Force. All these great stories don't exist anymore. They're not canon. All these great epic stories don't exist anymore. They're not considered canon. This is not canon anymore. They're not canon anymore. They're officially not canon. They're not canon anymore. This is not canon anymore. This is not canon anymore. This is not canon anymore. This never happened. This awesome story of, like, Darth Bane, a man who, like, you basically sympathize with, a man who, like, a man who was just like a soldier who turned into a Sith master. Like, you sympathize with him in this story, and you see why he went to the dark side. And this awesome story, doesn't exist anymore. And actually, the reason why Darth Bane is so important is because he actually was the first Sith master to create the Rule of Two. And the Rule of Two was basically, you know, the Sith and apprentice. That's why you see Darth Vader and the Emperor Palpatine or Count Dooku. That's basically what the Rule of Two is. And this guy is basically a historic figure in the Star Wars lore, in the Sith lore, and he doesn't exist anymore. He's not canon anymore. I mean, that's what sucks. That's what sucks. And this great story that filled the gap between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. This amazing story doesn't exist anymore. It explained the events. I mean, this story was a great story that explained the events between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And this novel filled the gap between those movies. This doesn't exist anymore. This is not canon. This doesn't exist anymore. This is not canon. That's the problem with that. That's why I hate that. And I'll go on. Like Shadows of the Empire. I mean, Darth Vader Path of Destruction is about a guy. I mean, what I love about it is about a guy a soldier turned to a Sith master. You sympathize with him. You understand why he went to the dark side. He created the rule of two, and he's an important figure because he created the rule of two. Like, Darth Bane. The Emperor and Darth Vader. They're basically Sith Master and Apprentice, or Palpatine or Count Dooku, Sith Master and Apprentice. That's who the Rule of Two. That's what the Rule of Two was, and that's why Darth Bane is an important figure in Star Wars lore and Sith lore. That's basically what the Rule of Two was, and that's why the Rule of Two was so important. And basically, Darth Bane was an important figure in the Sith lore, and that's why Darth Bane is so important in the Star Wars lore and even in the Sith lore. Shadows of the Empire, like, oh my god, like, fill the gaps between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. It has, like, this guy, Prince Zizor, who wants to kidnap Princess Leia to become his queen, which is a sick and evil dude, which he's a demented and evil person, and he asks for the Emperor to become Darth Vader's successor. Wants to be the Emperor's, basically wants to be the Emperor's heir, and he asks for approval from him, and he proves, if he makes this deal and he does this mission, only if he does the deal, it only makes the deal and does the mission right, gives benefits the Emperor, gives something back. That's kind of the story here. And he wants to, he's jealous of Darth Vader. He wants revenge of Darth Vader. He's basically jealous of Darth Vader's role. He's jealous of him. He wants to become his role. He wants to be his apprentice. And that's the story of the novel. And it's about Luke Skywalker becoming a Jedi Master. He's getting his green light, and Dash Rose. So Luke Skywalker saving his sister, becoming a Jedi Master, and this is the first time where he introduces him getting his green lightsaber, and he gets plans for the Death Star, and he wants to save his sister, and he has to work with Dash Rendar. It's about saving his kidnapped sister, and I'll go on, and what I like about this is that he works with Dash Rendar. Rendar have to both work together. Now Dash Rendar is like a poor man version of Han Solo, which I disagree. No, he's original. He's like a more badass Han Solo version. Like, he's cool. I like his personality and style. I like how he kicks ass, and I love his. I just love that smile. If you play the game, you know what I mean. In the port. I don't know. Just about this is not canon anymore. But no, like Dash Rendar and Luke Skywalker have to work together, and I like it how. And what makes Dash Rendar cool is his smile. It's like I like his smarky smile, his personality. I like the style. He kicks ass. He's a even more badass version of Han Solo, in my view. My opinion. But no, it's like, you see, that's what I like about him and his robot. I like his ship. One of my favorite Star Wars characters, seriously, underrated. But, I like this character, I like his robot, I forgot the name. I like his ship. You basically see his ship in the special edition of the New Hope, by the way. He has this, like, robot that you saw in, like, Rogue One. He has, like, this robot partner that you saw in Rogue One. Well, I think Rogue One based on that robot. Rogue One's based on that robot character, by the way. I don't know, I love his ship. His ship is even more cool than the Millennium Falcon. And you even see his ship in the special edition of A New Hope. I'm not kidding. It's a cameo spot, by the way. God, how can you fix that, Disney? But, you even see Dash Rendar's ship in the special edition of New Hope. I mean, like, are you kidding me? I mean, that's a joke. I mean, come on. I mean, how can you fix that, Disney? Hey, Disney, I thought Shadows of the Empire was not canon anymore. That's the problem. And I just love it, and that's why I hate about that. But I love his ship. Dash Rendar's ship is more cool than the Millennium Falcon. Like, Dash Rendar's ship, I love his ship. It's more cool than the Millennium Falcon, by the way. That's why I love it. And this is my favorite Star Wars story, and that's my thoughts on that. But no, I really do like this story. I highly recommend this. I recommend this, okay? I really like this. This is one of my favorite Star Wars stories. I really recommend this novel. I even recommend this. This is great. This is awesome. You should read this. This is what got me into Star Wars. I'm serious. This has got me into Star Wars EU. I love this, but no, I love this novel. I highly recommend this. But no, this is actually what got me into the Star Wars EU, by the way. That's what I really love about this. Really. Now, what I love about the Star Wars Expanded Universe is this. Now, if you want to get into the Star Wars Expanded Universe and start somewhere, I highly recommend the book by Pablo Dablo, The Star Wars Essential Reader's Companion. I highly recommend this. Like, if you want to start, like, have a guide to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, like, learn about how the Star Wars Expanded Universe was created, how George Lucas was involved, like, how George Lucas approved some of these stories. Because George Lucas, even though he didn't create these characters, like, he didn't create Mara Jade, Kyle Katarn, I'll go on, he basically approved some of these stories because they want to make it as consistency and canon as possible at the time, before Disney. And what's cool is, George Lucas, he decided to kill off Chewbacca, not Han Solo, because one of the writers wanted to kill off Han Solo, but they didn't want to. But George Lucas said no. He was actually okay with killing off Chewbacca, so it was cool. But no, I recommend the Star Wars. I recommend the Star Wars, the Essential Reader's Companion. This, this book by Pablo Dablo. I highly recommend this. It's amazing. Like, this gives you a guide to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Like, learn about the history of the Star Wars Expanded Universe, how the Star Wars Expanded Universe was created. This is a great book to get into, and I highly recommend it. I'm serious. This is a great book creating the EU, how George Lucas was involved, proving his involvement of Star Wars, involvement in this EU. It talks about the creation of the Expanded Universe and the lore of the Expanded Universe, how George Lucas was involved in this and that. But no, I highly recommend the book by Pablo Hidalgo, the Star Wars, the Essential Reader's Companion. This talks about the history of the Star Wars Expanded Universe and the history of the Star Wars Expanded Universe lore. I love it. It's great. It talks about what George Lucas was involved and not involved in. It talks about what George Lucas approved of and did not approve. Like, he didn't approve the death of certain characters because at the time this was canon, so he wants to make it as consistent as possible. And writers want to kill off certain characters, to change up the story and change up the. It talks about that, he killed off Chewbacca. He's the guy that made the decision. They want to kill Han Solo. Originally, they want to kill Han Solo, but he's the guy that decided to kill off Chewbacca. So that's how involved George Lucas was. And it's fascinating, and that's how much George Lucas was involved. And it's fascinating. That's how much It's fascinating, and and it proves just how it talks about his thoughts, George Lucas' thoughts on the EU. It proves George Lucas' thoughts on the EU, how George Lucas was involved, how much George Lucas was involved. So I highly recommend this. I highly recommend this if you want to understand the EU and the history of the EU, or how just a guide, what stories to start with. It's basically a guide and what stories to start with. It's basically a guide to the EU. It's just what stories to start with, which I highly recommend. Highly recommend. And then there's the Star Wars: The New Essential Chronology. This is a good chronology of the Phantom Menace to the New Jedi Order era. This is a good chronology. This is a good chronology of the Phantom Menace through the New Jedi Order era, which I highly recommend. This talks about the history of the Star Wars EU and the stories involved, like Kyle Katarn Rendar, Darth Bane, Boba Fett, Yoda, Mara Jade, General Grievous. I'll go on, which I like. Dooku, Sidious, Darth Maul stories, Han Solo, Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan Kenobi. All these great characters expanded upon. This is a good guide to this. So this is a good guide. This is basically a very good essential reader's guide. I highly recommend it. I'm serious. But it's a good one. Guys, I recommend the Star Wars, the new central chronology. The new central chronology. I highly recommend this. If you want to have a guide and look what story, if you just want to if you want to get a guide to if you want to get a guide to Star Wars lore and what Star Wars stories and novels to start with, what Star Wars comics and stories lore and stories events and Star Wars stories to start with, this is the book for you. This is basically the history. This is the lore of the Star Wars universe, the chronology of the Star Wars Expanded Universe and the Star Wars saga in general, which I love and highly recommend. The movies, to the Phantom Menace, to the New Jedi Order. That's actually how deep this goes. And I highly recommend this book. This is a good one too. So guys, I do recommend the book Labyrinth of Evil. This is a good Star Wars EU story. It takes place. This is a prequel of Revenge of the Sith. Labyrinth of Evil, great story. Yeah, it talks. It basically is this. It's kind of about like how Anakin Skywalker slowly got to the dark side, how they were close to finding out who the Emperor was, the identity of the Emperor, in the Battle of Coruscant, is depicted in this novel, which I highly recommend. It's interesting. But see, this is why I love the EU, because it expands from the story and delves into the events more, which I like. Labyrinth of Evil is a prequel to Revenge of the Sith. And as a prequel of Revenge of the Sith, it's great. It's about how Anakin Skywalker slowly gone to the dark, how he slowly goes to the dark side, and how Anakin and Obi-Wan were close to finding out who the Emperor was, like they were close to finding who the identity of the Emperor. And this novel depicts the Battle of Coruscant. The Battle of Coruscant, yes, and that's kind of why I love this novel so much. About how Grievous invaded Coruscant, the Battle of Coruscant. You know, like you see in the micro series, this is how officially the Battle of Coruscant was depicted. This is how officially the Battle of Coruscant was depicted. The micro series is somewhat accurate, is a little similar but different. It's a little bit micro series is a little bit similar. It's a little similar different. The micro series is a little bit similar different. But I highly recommend this. I do like this. This is why I like the EU. I mean, come on. Labyrinth of Evil is an awesome prequel to Revenge of the Sith, and Labyrinth of Evil is one of my favorite Star Wars EU novels. The prequel of Revenge of the Sith, awesome. I love it. Now, I want to just talk about this book, Shattered Empire. This is a Disney canon Star Wars comic, and this is considered to be like their own expanding, like Disney's expanding universe. This comic, Shattered Empire, takes place literally right after Return of the Jedi. So this takes place right after Return of the Jedi. This is canon. This is now considered canon in Disney. Now, listen, I'm going to be respectful here. Now, it's okay that you like this comic. I don't. I thought it was okay when I first read it, but no, I'm sorry, but like, guys, if you want to see what happened really like right after the end of Return of the Jedi, like what actually happened after Return of the Jedi, go read Truce of Basca, and then read Heir to the Empire, which is the beginning of the Thrawn trilogy. That's where you start there. That's the real sequel to post-Return of the Jedi. This is just trash and garbage. This tries to connect like Rey and tries to connect Poe Dameron's parents to Han. Fuck that shit. Fuck this comic. Well, I want to do a mini review of Star Wars Shattered Empire. This is basically a Disney canon comic. Now, I'm respectful of this, and it's okay if you like this, but I don't. Okay? I don't. Like, you know, here's the thing. Shattered Empire takes place right after Return of the Jedi. This is basically a sequel of Return of the Jedi. And tries to, like, this is Disney's own EU canon. This is Disney's own EU canon. This is their own expanding universe. This is considered to be canon. This is like right after Return of the Jedi. And it's terrible. I liked it at first, but I'm sorry, but I hate it. I thought it was fine. I love the art style, but I just don't like the story. I'm sorry. I mean, first of all, if you want a true sequel to Return of the Jedi, go read Truce of Basca, and then Heir to the Empire, which is the beginning of the Thrawn trilogy. That's a real good post Return of the Jedi story. But if you want a real sequel to Return of the Jedi, go read Truce of Basca, and then read Heir to the Empire, which is the beginning of the Thrawn trilogy. Go read that. That is a true sequel to Return of the Jedi. I mean, that is a true good story right after post Return of the Jedi. This is just trash. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I used to like this comic. I thought it was okay at first. Like, the story, I thought it was entertaining. I kind of thought the adventure was nice, but that was about it. I thought it was decent. But the art style was great. Like, the art style was great. Like, I gotta give credit. Like, I think the art style is fine here. I really do think the art style of this comic is actually pretty good here. I do appreciate it, but as a story, I'm not a big fan. Like, I don't see how this connects to the original trilogy. I'm sorry, but this tries to tie in Force Awakens. Yes, that's right. As I said up above, this comic is trying to tie to Return of the Jedi to Force Awakens. This comic is trying to tie to, like, Force Awakens. It's trying to tie in to, like, Return of the Jedi. It's trash. I'm sorry. I fucking hate it. Like, this fucking comic. I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't like the idea that it tries to connect, like, Han Solo to, like, Poe Dameron's parents. So this comic introduces us to Poe Dameron's parents, and it tries to connect that Han Solo knew his parents. I don't care. It's shit. I'm sorry. I hate it. It even tries to connect, like, Finn and Rey, and you know, and fucking bullshit. I'm sorry. Not to be, you know, look, if you like this, that's perfectly fine to like the new I'm respectfully, but if you like, that's fine. Look, here's the thing. Like, I'm sorry, this is why the old EU was a little bit better. this new EU is just. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm sorry. Like it's just I don't buy the story. I don't buy how it connects to this and that. I don't like. It needs some time to develop its own continuity, but let's be honest. But it's a different continuity, whether you like it or not. And here's my look. If you like Disney's canon, that's fine. I'm respectful to that. If you like this comic, that's fine. I'm respectful towards that. That's fine. But it's not for me. You know, I'm not a big fan of this new canon. Like, oh my fucking god. I'm not a big fan of this like new canon. You know, oh my fucking god. But you know, that it's the I'm sorry, but you know, it's trash. I'm sorry. I'm not a big. Respectfully, to be nice, I'm not a big fan of this. Okay. So that's all I gotta say about that. So that's my thoughts on that, guys. So guys, I recommend Heir to the Empire. I highly recommend it. In Lost Tribe of the Sith, this is a great one. Lost Tribe of the Sith. This is an awesome one. This is a great story of the Sith. This is great Sith stories, as they call it. And this is an awesome novel. I highly recommend it. Now, if you guys really want to start on the EU, go read the Thrawn trilogy, Heir to the Empire. Heir to the Empire is a good start of the Star Wars expanding universe. And this is the beginning of the Thrawn trilogy. This is the beginning of the Thrawn trilogy. I highly recommend it. This is a good way to start. This is a good way to start post Return of the Jedi. This is a good start of expanding. This is a good way to start of your Star Wars expanding universe experience. This is a good way to start of your Star Wars expanding universe experience. This is a good story to start with by reading a post Return of the Jedi stories. This is a good story to start with of post Return of the Jedi stories, which I highly recommend. This is a good one. I highly recommend it. And this is a really good one. I highly recommend it. So this is a very great one. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it. This is a good way to start. If you want a real sequel, read this. I highly recommend this. This is an awesome one. I like this. Lost Tribe of the Sith. I love this one. Get this. Heir to the Empire, a real sequel to Return of the Jedi. I highly recommend this. Start the EU. So guys, that's my thoughts on the Star Wars EU. I highly recommend it. So guys, that's my thought on the Star Wars expanding universe. That's what I think about it. And so guys, that's my thoughts on the Star Wars expanding universe. And that's why I like the Star Wars expanding universe. And that's why I love the Star Wars expanding universe. And so guys, that's why I recommend the Star Wars expanding universe. So guys, have a good one. So guys, that's all I gotta say. And bye. So that was my little rant. So guys, that's my thoughts on that. That's all I gotta say. So guys, have a good one. So guys, bye and peace out. Take care.